Picking up where I left off yesterday, scroll pause is core data. It's got a DDL, data definition language sort of thing here. I'm guessing these are migrations. I don't really want to mess with all that. I don't want to migrate the data at all. So the plan is scroll pause. We're going to neuter it being core data. We're going to make it just an in-memory allocated object that gets initialized from the line scene. And I'll go over that in a second. But for now, let's just not worry about scroll pauses for now, since it's kind of a bonus feature. Let's just deal with, and there we go. There's where it creates. We're going to just comment this out for now. We're going to disable if false and if. Okay. Remove JSON file. Scroll JSON destination. So this is where it picks all this stuff up. Scroll JSON destination path. Remove all audio file, move scene to documents. What is this scroll? Well, okay, let's see if we could just get away with not doing that. I'm not going to add scroll positions. Okay, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. And look at that. There are lines. I think this was popping up before because it returns true. We have the metadata for the line scenes. But is the audio file there? So there's data came down. We say, okay. Can we actually play it? This is again, where are we? Table view. We're editing, not editing. We're going to see if we need to synchronize. We do synchronize again. All right, we keep looping back onto here. So it looks like we're not setting the replica value so that it doesn't keep trying to resynchronize, because that's what's happening here. We need to fix that. Oh, because it needs to get all of its lines. It's not getting all of its lines, right? Let's go back here. For those of you who haven't seen the previous videos, this is probably very confusing, but I'll try to explain some of it as I walk through. Here's another thing, we don't really need to sidebar so much. Give us more. I don't care about that. Look at all these to-dos. So funny. Prevent doing this more than once. So instead of preventing doing this more than once, we're going to do it more than once. We're going to do it for every time. Because what's happening is we're replicating the line set, meaning we have to get all of the line scenes for that line set. This is where we replicate the lines themselves. Yeah. Yeah, calling it a line scene makes sense because it's a scene used for the purpose of a line in a line set versus a standalone scene. I understand that a little bit better now. Yeah, line set is made up of line scenes, right? Okay. we're folding here over this, and we decided to have an accumulator that's telling us whether we've done a post or not. Instead of posted, I want to say failed. If there's a failure on one, do I want to make a failure on all? Probably. Why would I do that? Thinking about that. We kind of do need to know whether we failed. These are asynchronous calls though, so that's not going to tell us anything until the final. Really is the failure. Completion is true. Failure is false. Well, completion is true. And the completion that we're passing, replicate line set, app replication. Where do we call this? Oh, I'm already confused. Under domain. Where do we call replicate line set? Nowhere. This is called from the iOS side. Minimize. Let's stop this. Minimize. Find grep star replicate line set. Line set. I've got to change that to mixed case everywhere for consistency. Right here. Right where we are. Yeah. This says if we started, we return. Replicate line set. There it is. There's the start. Okay, we just disabled that. So if we come back and we say replicated, we're returning true. So chosen section, chosen row. That all looks good. Reload the data. We should set breakpoint here so we know that's happening. Let's just turn all these on. But when we go to do the check again, we're finding that it's not the same. So what's happening is we're not updating the logic that says whether or not it's the same, line set replica same. See, it's going to go through here. Domain replication same, domain line sets fold. It's going to check every one of these. So what's happening is it looks like our replica audio file is not being set. Right? Here we've got domain line scene established replica audio. We're not calling this, are we? For remote. We need to call this for remote. So we're calling it only for, let's do a search. Let's just look for replica audio. Yeah. Yeah. We're only calling it here. Domain line scene established replica. If remote, not local, it's going to go through and update all these. So this is what I need to do. I need to call establish replica because I've retrieved it. Yeah, I do not call it. This is what needs to happen. What about domain line set establish replica? I have that, but that never gets called either. Huh. Domain line scene establish replica audio, we saw that. Huh. Oh no, there it is. Nope, line scene. Wait. There we go. This will go ahead and take care of it from the top. But it's only going to update the audio for remote, which we have. We already had remote. Domain line scene establish replica. There we go. If remote not local, if remote not local, it doesn't do it for local. That's what's missing. We need to call this directly for local because these are pulled down independently. This is what we need to call. And we need to call it on replication for each individual line scene as we get it. So that's what we need here. Right. What did we do? We posted. We completed. We got the data. It got zipped. So I think it's here. Line. False. Take a look. Line, it's the dictionary, and it's local. This is what's going to get updated. Now, because we're only doing this for the one file, we don't have the local replica for all of them. So it should still try to reload after we do this until we basically pull them all down. Right? Yes, let's do that. Completion true. Yeah, so we've set this. Oh, this is what we're only doing this because we're pulling down one. We really can't do this until the last one is finished. And what we've done is we've folded over all of the line sets. We've fired off these asynchronous calls independently. We need to gather up them all succeeding before we make this call to completion. Or only for the one? No. Let's go back to where we were. Let's just run it. Oops, let's stop. It's kind of a classic asynchronous situation. A mass of asynchronous calls need to join on the success of all of them at the one point in which you're going to say that they all succeeded, which makes sense. Let's do this anyway. No, don't send. Sorry, your emulator's not working. Sorry. I think we could make this a little smaller. Okay, emulator busted. Let's go. We want to see where we hit this completion call. I don't really want to pull down all the audio files unless they're used. Click in here, we're clicking on the line set. Until we select a line set, we're not going to trigger its check for replication. We click on it, boom. Here's where we're starting to sync. Continue on. We're past the completion. There we go. And now completion's been called. Called right here. Completion true. We got the chosen section. Index of line set. Oh, this is for the entire line set. So we do need to pull down all of the lines at once. That's the way this is designed. Reload data. There we go. But in reality, we only actually ever pulled down one of these. So the other lines do not have their audio replica updated, which means we're going to run into this again the minute we click on any of them. We're going to start to sync again. Because we're out of sync, we're going to do this whole routine one more time. Yep. Obviously don't need that. That's going to get hit every time. Yeah. Okay. So we know what we need to do. So how do we gather up multiple asynchronous calls and join them together for single completion? It sounds like a promising future, promising futuring, future promise sort of situation. Trying to think of the best way to do this. We have to hook into these calls somehow. Well, first, let's make it how did it do it originally? I think it just called completion when it fired them up. I don't think it waited for them. Yeah, it calls completion, it opens this up, and it leaves the spinner going. And here I'm shuttering the HUD. Again, I don't want to do this until they're all completed. Yeah. All right, we're folding over this. What we need yeah, I don't like this. It's like we need to pass in a token to all of these that can be used to notify their completion. If we were doing this in a multi-threaded fashion, these would simply be fired off as separate threads, and we do a join on the termination of each thread. Then we know they're all completed. The point of asynchrony here is not in the remote call. Is not in the, yes, it's in, this is synchronous. Remote post coming over here is synchronous. It's inside the actual network handler. Download line scene. Why is this all disabled? Yeah, we rewrite this on the Kotlin side, which is what we were doing. But it's the point of the actual post itself, or in this case, download URL, right? Didn't we have download URL? Yeah, there it is. This call right here is the asynchronous one. And the completion, the continuations that are passed in, success and failure, it's this call. So synchronously, we're going to return from this immediately, passing in these closures to be invoked upon completion. So these are the asynchronous parts. We can't join because we don't have any control over the threading directly. Whatever threading is going on, whatever asynchrony is going on, is encapsulated here. And Objective-C doesn't have any notion at the language level of asynchrony. This is a call made to some library, and at that point, it uses asynchronous I/O or multi-threading to spin this off. There's no way to await on this from Objective-C. So instead, something needs to be passed into this handler so that each handler can notify messy, 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 messy. Can I do it from just a count? I might be able to do it from just a count. Well, let's deal with this first. Accumulator. Well, the accumulator will provide just a count. All right. Not posted. I'm not going to do that anymore. This is why I don't like large if blocks. If, else. Remote post. Instead of returning true, Oh, we have to deal with that, don't we? That's not what we're worrying about. We're doing the audio part. Okay. Posted +1, or count +1. It's going to accumulate a count for now. I think I can do this with a count, and that'll be valid. All right, we do a remote post, we do a count +1. So what we're going to call instead, we have to carry state. I'm trying not to carry state here. This is shared mutable state, thing we try to avoid. It's when we cross the concurrency boundaries that this gets a lot more challenging. I think we have to have something mutable here. We have to pass in a mutable list. Or a mutable counter. Brook, Brook, Blook, 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 Blook. All right, well, let's do a couple of things. First, let's make a separate function that takes care of the completion. All right. Well, wait, let's just see it do all of them first. We're not gonna call completion, are we? Yeah. Well, what did I say happened on this side? What was the original code? The original code is it just fires and forgets. So let's do that. Let's see what happens if we do that, just for laughs. I'm laughing just for laughs. What's at the end of this? Show to the HUD. Call completion. Show to the HUD and call completion. Same thing we have here. Man, you hit that caps lock in the Vim and you're messed. You're messed. And the keyboard's really tight on this Mac. I think I've mentioned that before. Yeah. I think you were doing a return here, right? That's kind of how I do it. I put the return at the top, don't I? for the app mutant. One of these days, we're going to deal with all this app mutant stuff. What does this return? This returns just the app mutant. Okay. I wonder if I'm going to shove something onto the app mutant. I might do that. Excuse me. Like pending concurrent calls queue. I mean, it is mutable state. Mutable state goes on the app mutant. That's the logic. That's why I have it. Yeah. I think we just do AM here. This would pop up after the completion. Let's make it do that. Let's make it pop it up for each one. Yeah. All right, we got rid of posted. Count is count plus one. Not doing anything with the count for now. This is going to be ugly. We don't need that anymore. Nope. That's our success handler. Right. Accumulator is not a Boolean. It's an integer now. Okay. Let's see what weirdness happens. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna throw up the spinner. It's gonna close it right away, and then we're gonna see pop-ups for each one of the downloads. That's what I predict. Look at all these errors. Warning error, warning error. Okay, here we go. I click on line set. Oh, completion got called already. Not even enough time for the spinner to come up, because all it did is fire off all the asynchronous requests and come back right away. All right, so let's set the breakpoint. Replicated. Replicated. Yeah. Doot. So the question is, can I now click on this since all the audios should have been updated? No. It's doing it again. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Domain line scene established replica audio. I think we need to save the line set once we make these changes. It might be reloading it from file again. Start sync line set. Let's try this again. Step into here. Replicate line set. Remember, it's only going to do this if it needs to, right? It'd be nice if I could set breakpoints here. This must be failing. Otherwise, it won't be coming in here. This only fails if it cascades down. Let's take a look at the line set. It's replicated. Let's take a look at the line scenes. 10 elements. Here we are. Okay. Replica local. I'm not seeing replica local audio in here. There are 10 elements. Looks like I only did it 5 times. Why are there 10 elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's 10. Huh. Can I do a P line set? Be nice if it dumped all the JSON for me, or the entire dictionary for me. Yeah, I need to add some diagnostics here, make this easier. All right, let's just step through it. So, whoops. I hate when they do this with pop-ups like this. Maybe there's a way to do this. Can I do that? Look at that. How useful is that? Is there a way to look at the whole thing separately? No. I've got to use these little pop-up windows. And the minute I mouse off of it, it goes away. Terrible UI. Maybe there's a debug window somewhere where I can do this better. If you're an expert Xcode, let me know. All right, let's see if any of these are set. No, I see replica local, but not on the audio. I don't see it on the audio. Nope. No. 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 None of these. And it also seemed to me like it only made 5 calls, not 10 calls. We know these match. This isn't working. Establish replica audio line. False. It's local, so it's not remote. Line is this line. We're folding over the lines. We're doing remote posts on all of these. We're unzipping the data. If we're getting a failure, we're going to see it. Remote post, if we get a failure, we're going to see it. I'm not seeing any failures. So this must be working. This must be getting called. Domain line scene establish replica audio. Dictionary plus. Oh, of course. This isn't actually getting reassigned. It's just producing a new value. This is functional, not mutating. Right. Right. Ha. Exactement. Now I understand why I need a queue. I need a mutable queue so I can update the line set itself in its entirety. All right, let's do that. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to make a local function here called complete. We're going to move this logic to it. We're going to move this logic to it. I keep forgetting that I have Vim keys and I keep using the mouse. I don't need to use the mouse. Yeah, I prefer Viminess. All right. We are going to pass in we always pass in an app mutant. We always do that. Complete is going to take a new line scene. We'll just say line scene, which is our usual dictionary. So we're going to pass in, each one of these is going to call complete, or maybe should we call it update, finish. No, we'll call it complete. So we're going to do it here instead. I mean, we could just put all the logic in here. We're not doing this. I don't need to make it a function up there. I don't really count. This is kind of like, well, yeah, I count. There's an accumulator. Yeah, I know I'm kind of stalling out here. I don't need to make a separate function. That's not necessary. We can just put all the logic in here. Obviously, this same lambda gets called for every one of these. What we need to do is we need to accumulate these line sets, these line scenes. So we need some kind of queue passed in. Yeah, we're going to make it mutable. And when it's filled, we'll do the completion. How do we get the line set updated? That's the trick. Well, the line set lives on the script. We find the script, we replace the line set sitting on the script. Mutation, mutation, mutation. So really, this needs to be an array. We're going to make this index. Index plus 1. We're going to pass in, let's just make a mutable var for now. Well, it's a val. List of line scenes. It's the same thing I'm folding over. New line scenes. Obviously going to be a map. I think I can actually say empty map of. You can do that, right? Or is it something like, I think I can do that. Can I compile that? Empty map of. No. How do I do that? I mean, obviously I can do it like this, but I thought there was a, oh, actually it's more like map of. That's right. That's right. I thought there was an empty map of. I could just say empty map. That's legal. I just thought the empty map up would be a nicer, like, a little more brevity. It's almost, I have to pass this in. I'm taking in the input line and I'm saying new line scenes add. Sorry, this is an array. It's a list. Can I just say empty list? Well, domain set lines, what does that give me? Domain line set lines. Yeah, it's a list. Or it gives me an empty list. I mean, I could copy the list and empty it. It's kind of stupid. Yeah, it's just a list, empty list. I'm going to build up a new list to replace the original. On each completion, we'll add to this list, but it's this. Notice that it's a val, but it's actually a mutable collection. This is one of the traps of thinking you're getting immutability. This reference is immutable. It's going to point to the same list, but the list itself is not. Oh, do I have to say mutable list? Yeah, I have to say mutable to make it mutable. I stand corrected. Kotlin does enforce immutability. I won't be able to add to this list because it's not a mutable list. So let's see what happens. Yeah. Dot add or append or insert. In this case, it's going to be add. Should give me an error here because it's not mutable. So take the original line, I replicate the audio, I get new lines. Once I've filled up with the same number of lines, I know that we're done. I don't care if they are in the exact same order. Do I? No, the order doesn't matter. Don't think it does, because display is a sort order. So I was going to say add. Append plus. Come on. List class. Oh, maybe because it's mutable. I think I turned off all the help. Add. Let me see if I make it mutable. I burned myself by turning off the IDE lookup help, API lookup help. Let's make this immutable list. Gross. I think add is still incorrect. Do I say mutable empty list? Is that right? What? Can I just declare it without assigning it? Must be initialized. Empty mutable list? Try that. Why does it, I can't. Come on. Do I have any mutables anywhere in here? That's the only mutable in all the code so far, or the mutable collection. Empty mapped, empty list. Mutable list, it's the only mutable one. That's punishing me for using mutability. Well, wait, no? Why is this in there twice? Let's pop up and do a find. Ugh. Come on, Kotlin mutable list. Kotlin mutable list. I'm looking up on my other computer. I'm cheating. There's an ad. Where's empty list? Empty mutable list. Empty list. Empty list. Empty read-only list. Empty. Give me an empty. Give me an empty. Oh. I can say list of nothing. I don't have to say empty. I might as well show you what I'm looking at. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. All right, let's do this again. Kotlin empty list. All right, so this is part of the collections. Notice this one's read-only. Let's do a search for empty. And I can just say list of. Can I say mutable list of with nothing? And that'll be empty? That would be more concise. Can I say mutable list of up. Can I do this? Ah, God. And jumping between these two IDEs is really painful. Seriously need to get a single editor for both. All right. Yep. That's better. Okay. A val, but the list itself is mutable, and that's what we're doing. So we're adding, and then we're going to check. This just feels like a race condition. Not really, though. So we're checking for size. So we're going to say if new line scenes add, does this return? Let's do an add. Add all, returns a Boolean. Add, just add. Mutable list. Abstract mutable list. There's add, returns a Boolean, doesn't return a count. So we've got size, we've got to just call size on itself. Okay. So we do this, we do the after the fact. See, this I don't like. I don't like doing this. This is where we say something like if new lines scenes dot size, right, equals line count. Okay. Then we're going to do the completion. Should we put in these info dialogues? No, let's just take this out for now. We don't need this tracing anymore. Actually, I put the tracing before. All right. How do we know what the line count is? We're just going to do it up here. Oh, domain set lines. Yeah, so I'm calling this. So this is what would end up happening is we end up having all these intermediate variables. I've never liked this in any language. So one way to do it would be val lines equals domain set lines, right? Now I know the size. Now I could do something like line count equals lines.size. Now I do new lines. And then I do lines. So we see lines as an intermediate variable showing up many times here. What I'm going to do instead what I'd like to do is a dot also what do we gain by doing this? It.fold. This now provides it as accessible. We say lines, it.fold. And now I have also, I have lines in here and I can say lines.size. Like that. Because this expression has now been bound to a name, which is now visible here, using the also. Is that better than, I mean, obviously I don't need line count here. So what looks better? This lines.fold, or the also. The unfortunate thing is the also requires another layer of bracketing. And then that goes away. And by the way, it's not it.fold, it's lines.fold. So lines is duplicated here and duplicated there. It really feels a little weird, doesn't it? The difference here is we have the result of this expression. It gets bound to this name, i.e. assigned to a variable, a value parameter, which is then referenced here. Is that, how much different is that than the initial val and then lines? Yeah, this is cleaner. I try to go for the tacit. So in tacit, I could actually just reference this as a parameter, but not doing that here. So, okay. I need to know lines so I can look at the line size. The index doesn't matter. I'm incrementing it, but I don't really need it because I don't care unless I'm going to put this in an array instead of a list. But it's a list. I don't think the order matters. So technically, when the last one completes, we're going to end up here in its completion. But two things need to happen. We need to call the completion, but we also need to replace the existing line set that we just replicated. I just put that there because we're already beyond 80 columns. Really don't like this nesting. It's this kind of callback. Yeah. Remote post, unzip data, right? Callback L. Callback to callback to callback. The old promise then thing is a little bit cleaner syntactically. I prefer a pipeline architecture, which this really isn't. So what was the problem here? Okay. Oh, and when the completion's true, we're going to get rid of the, we're going to shutter the HUD. So we won't shutter the HUD until we get everything down. Problem is, we're not going to have a new line set, and we're going to come back in here. So we'll shutter the HUD first, and then fire the completion. And what we end up with is this dangling, garbage collected, allocated on the heap object, new line scenes. Right, this is a local value here, but we don't have lifetimes that are bound to this function. This just sits on the heap. And because this is passed in as a closure, as part of this closure here, thing's going to stay alive. So at some point, the line set up above that's being used needs to be replaced. So I think the completion handler needs to be the guy, this guy, replicate line set. He needs to be responsible for the new line set. That makes sense. And I don't really have a global. I just have kind of a local mutable, somewhat encapsulated mutable. Yeah, because you have multiple tasks or multiple threads all converging on a common result, all contributing parts of a common result. How do you do that in a pass by value fashion? There's probably a way to do that. But the important thing I think here is this completion needs two things. It needs whether or not it succeeded and the new line set. Because someone calls this to be replicated, well, they should be responsible for replacing the thing that they're replicating, right? That makes sense. I like that idea. So completion is going to be true. We're going to take the line set and we're going to give it a new set of lines. And that should be part of our domain. So domain set lines, this is a query. So here's domain set establish replica. Domain line set establish lines. This is not remote or local. This is going to be line set. Lines. And this is simply going to say, is it TL? think we just do that. Because it's a map, it's going to merge. Yeah, so here's where we just get new lines. Remember, we're producing a copy because we're doing it by value. Establish replica, establish lines. I like establish better than set. Set feels mutable. Establish is, I mean, I could say domain set with lines. With new lines. Sounds like a new line. Let's say establish. I know that might not be the right wording, but that's what I'm going to use. So that's what we're doing here. When it's completed, we're domain line set, establish lines, new lines. So instead of new line scenes, we're going to say new lines. New line size equals line size. And what is the to-do here? Use app mutant. Oh, because of this being called into Objective-C. Yeah, because it gets called into Objective-C, I'm not passing in the app mutant. We're going to see if we need this app mutant thing in the long run. Actually, I put the caret before the to-do. We show to the HUD. We provide a new line set. I don't need this tracing anymore. Well, I'll leave it in there for now. All right, new lines. This scares me. Having this mutable collection floating amongst the closures that get fired off. But that's the point of garbage collection. It sits out there while everybody's referencing it until they're done with it. The last guy that finishes this will be out of here. So the final completion will not be called until the last one of these completes or a failure occurs. Now what can happen is one of these can fail and the other, well, will never, failure will never, yeah, completion, this completion will never get called unless all of these succeed. Because only once we accumulate, once we hit this, new lines equals lines. Should work. We don't even need the index. We don't care about the index. I'll leave it in there for now. Don't really need it. Instead of this being a fold, this could just be a for each. Let's put it to do. Refactoring to do, because it's not a bug. Probably not needed because new lines doesn't need to be in the same order. All right, that's a long comment. How about probably new lines probably don't need to be in the same order as lines. See what happens. It's not like this extra comma. Dict. That's funny. What are we expecting? Right. This needs to be empty map. What are we doing with the app mutant here? Oh. So here's where I'd use an apply or an also. No, you still got the same problem. Yeah, nah, not gonna use it. I think I went overboard with the, I know in my last major Android project, I went crazy with the Kotlin scoping blocks, scoping features, also apply, let, run, with. I just used them all over the place. It's kind of nuts. So if completion is called here, I don't want to provide this AM, I want to provide that AM. Of course. Did it again. This is that let thing again. A completion handler. Yeah, this. So use app mutant, still a question mark. Oh, I keep switching between mouse and Vim. See, so I disabled all this auto stuff, but watch what happens. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. Please stop doing that. Just thinking about the amount of time that's being wasted by this. Wow, that's ugly. Look at all that. Urgh. Can I pass immutable for immutable? No. Wait a minute, what is it complaining about? Is it complaining about the call to domain line set, this parameter, or is it complaining about the result to the completion handler? Inferred type. No, map, map. Map plus map equals map. I don't see anything mutable in here. Why would it infer that? Which inferred type? No value passed for lines. Oh, my bad. And this is the problem with the pyramid. See how we're starting to stack way out to the right here. Line set. No, wrong, 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 wrong. 2 parameters. That was the problem. Ugh, look at that. Oh, that's ugly. It's ugly, ugly. It looks ugly either way. Should I stack it even more like that? Looks very lispy. Yuck. Not a fan of that. Do I have access to the line set from here? I should. There it is. But I really want to change that to be do that. Let's just change it everywhere. Okay. What do we got? What do you hate now? Why do you hate me now? Okay, here's the mutable, immutable thing. Yeah, new lines is mutable, inferred type. It's not really inferred. I mean, I guess that's inference because I called that function. I thought I could pass in mutable as mutable. Where's the mutable thing? Fell to earth. All right, we're an hour and a half in. As mutable? No. Mutable? No. There's some method on these collections that turns it from mutable to immutable or mutable to mutable. Mutable list. Indices. As iterable, as reversed, as sequence. I think you can go from immutable to mutable. I think there's an as mutable, right? As mute? No. What? There's a way to go from one to the other. Yeah. Contains, get, index is empty, last index, sublist, indices, all, any, as iterable, as reversed, as sequence, associate by, blah, blah, blah. All right, oh, look at how long this is. Oh my God. Element at. I thought there was a mutable. Mutable. Two mutable, 2 Boolean, 2 list. List to list, 2 map, 2 mutable. There it is, 2 mutable. I guess I have to say 2 map. Population returns the destination mutable map. All right, this is the mutable one, this is the immutable one. So if I go to mutable list, I should have a to something, right? To map, to list. Okay. I don't say to immutable, I say to list. To list. Can I do that? No. Oh, it's not list, it's to map. All right. From God, I really hate that sometimes it does this, sometimes it does that. Okay, what do we got? What? Unresolved reference. I'm going from a map, a mutable map. What the hell? Mutable list. It is a list. Oh, killing myself. Okay, that's correct. What's wrong is here. All right. Maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe that was the problem. It's a list of a map. List of map. That's where I screwed up. Domain set lines returns a list. Yeah. So TL is set to a list of lines. I think that was the problem. Yep. That was the problem. I said map instead of list. Okay. All right. Oof. Let's see what happens. We're still not replacing, so this is going to fail because it's looking for, its completion handler is not going to map properly. It's not going to match. Yeah. Succeeded. Replicate line set. All right. Kotlin Boolean. Line set. New line set. This makes sense. Replicate the line set. Upon completion, tell me whether you succeeded and give me the new line set. No global here. It's being passed back. It's being rebuilt. And here we're going to say completion, new line set. Shared replicate line set, escaping bool, comma. Obviously we need that. And because this is being called on the facade, there's going to be a signature up here somewhere for it. Replicate line set, there we go. Gonna add this parameter. Completion, okay. Still keeping it somewhat functional. All right. Didn't like me. Incorrect argument label in call. Wow. Incorrect argument label in call. Replace line set with line set. What? Huh? Oh, I changed it on this side. Didn't I? Didn't I? Yes, that's what happened. I changed it there. Right. Gotcha. Yeah. This is why consistency on capitalization matters. Should still have an error. Don't have an error. Yeah, there we go. This is what we're needed. So now we have to say in its dictionary, I believe, because we're now in Objective-C. New line set. For now, we're ignoring it. What we're going to do is we're going to replace it. This happened again. Wow, this is weird. This is weird. It's still running. It's giving me this error, but it's running. Did I change something here? Scene success failure. I don't know. Sorry, let's go back to where we were on. Whew, look at all these things. Facade, let's get rid of that. Domain, we want this. All right, we get the line set back. Where does this line set come from? Let's run it again. Because we're going to replace it. Remember, if replicated, we replace it. Right. The replacement thing might actually work. Let's see. Okay, where's it coming from? Line set for section. I believe it's just the same variable. No, that's not what I wanted. What am I doing? Line set for, what's going on? Line set for section, find me, find me, find me, find me. There we go, line set array. So this is the local variable, is this guy. This is where he needs to be replaced. I think I can just do this, right? Can I do that? Gross. Otherwise return no. Okay. Where is it? Line set for section. This needs to be passed in. I'll pass in the section. Wrong. Section. I don't know, what is it, an integer? int section. Right? Let's see if that compiles. What the hell was it? Line set for section. For section. Oh. I keep forgetting that I'm in Objective-C. Self dot line set for section like that. Does that work? No. Does that work? Where is it expected? All right, my brain is starting to melt. Okay. Is that valid? NS integer. I did it wrong. Section. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Obviously, that's just section. All right. Now I'm going to replace line set array section equals new line set. In theory, this will update with our replaced, since we just replicated, where we're hanging on to the line sets. Now what it doesn't do is it doesn't replace it in the script. And that script is still floating around. So let's put a comment in there to do need to replace script line set with new line set. All right, but let's just see if this works locally here. Line set array. Is this a self dot? Can I do that? Difference between these. Oh, this is painful. Yeah. This is what I need to fix for current script. I need to replace the line set in the current script. Yeah. I might have to do this. Mutable copy. This thing's not mutable? How the hell did it get updated originally? Sounds like I'm not going to be able to mutate this. Isn't that hilarious how brackets are used for message calls as well as indexing? I don't think it's going to allow this. I think it's going to barf. That's why that mutable thing was needed. So how did this get replaced originally? I have to look at the old code. I mean, it was obviously getting updated. It's getting updated in core data. So line set array is not mutable. Do I have to replace the whole array? Probably. It's probably what that mutable thing was there for. Object to move, source section, remove object, insert object. Then do what? Line set. This is all this updating stuff. Make a mutable copy. Then what happens with a mutable copy? Confused, I don't see. Mutable array, make a mutable copy. Mutable, mutable, mutable. Oh, mutable. Here we go. Mutable count. Line set equals mutable. Sort number. Update object, modify date. This is how we're modifying this core data. Wow, yuck, yuck, yuck. I'm confused. Provides a new sorting order. What did this do? Here we go. NS managed object. Wow. What a mess. I can't even update the array that's local. It's a mixture of mutability and immutability. Yeah. Anytime you straddle the boundaries of different programming approaches, you pay a lot of pain. I'm experiencing that with having half the stuff in the, not half, but all the original stuff in the ORM and some new pieces not in the ORM. And we see how miserable that is. And here we're seeing the boundaries between sometimes using mutability and sometimes not. It's almost simpler if you just assume everything's mutable, or cleaner if everything's immutable. And then you have to do what I did on the Kotlin side. Here, we've got a mixture. I mean, the fact that we can modify the core data means the fundamental core data object is mutable. We can change it. And yet, in the UI class, the reference to a local collection is made immutable. For what purpose? Why should it stay immutable? It's going to allow the UI to mutate it and then update the core data object. So what's the benefit of it being immutable? A lot of hoops were jumped through. It's almost like just make it all mutable, because it's already mutable anyway. Yeah. Look at how much persistent object management is being done inside this UI class. This is a UI view class, and it's just doing a lot of work to manage persistent domain data. In fact, this is most of it it looks like. There's a lot in here for that. All right, I'm going to pause for a second.